Well, today's topic is hoses. We use a lot of hoses around the farm. We have potted trees everywhere, and I like to water them with a hose because the automatic sprinklers and stuff, in the shade house don't actually get all of the plants. So it takes a lot of time, and in the shade house it takes 2 hoses, but I hand water all of the plants whenever they're dry. So I sort of have a special relationship with hoses. Also, I'm always one that wants the best value. So over the years, I have had a whole lot of different hoses, and I've tried out hoses from Costco. In fact, this brown hose here is a Costco hose a few years back, and it started leaking. So because I like to use things to their fullest, I got a repair kit and repaired the part, or actually eliminated the part of the hose that was leaking, put a new end on it. That was wasted effort. It really didn't last long before something else started to spray, give me a shower when I was actually wanting just to water plants. Then we have older hoses like this, and actually this is much older than the Costco hose and held up better, but still what happens is that there's like this kink in it, and if it twists then you get a shower. I don't have as many problems with this as I do with the brown one, but still a lot of frustration for both of these hoses. So lucky for you, we did some research on hoses, and let me show you 2 hoses that I like a lot. So here's one of our spigots. It's actually outside of the shade house, but it's actually in a good place. Along the fence, I planted a whole lot of small mango trees, and when you plant mango trees or any other trees, it's good to have a source of water while they get established. So a 100-foot hose was what I needed for this area, and we found a 100-foot hose from Briggs & Stratton. This is a fairly heavy hose. It's really pretty amazing. One feature that it has, which I'll mention before I forget to, is that it has a brass fitting here at the end, and that brass is then nickel plated. What we had on this spigot before was what looked like brass, and a lot of the cheaper hoses have this fitting that looks like brass but is actually aluminum. Aluminum is not one of those metals that you want to have at the end, as the connection to your spigot, at least if your spigot's anything like mine. What happened is that it actually fused to, the threads there on the spigot, and it required a very strong person with tools to get it off. So these have these nice fittings on them that are brass covered with nickel, and they don't actually fuse to the actual spigot. So anyway, we have this one hose that's in use, and this one is going to be put in use at another part of the grove. One thing I wanted also to mention about this, not only is it made out of really nice heavy-duty rubber, but we ran over the hose with a lawnmower, and we have a pretty powerful lawnmower. And the only thing that happened was that we lost just maybe 4 or 5 inches of the hose. It had a fitting on the end. I'm sure that there's one on the, well, you have to look way inside to feel it, but yes, trust me, the other end of this hose has a fitting on it. But because of the material that this is made out of, I have not missed having a fitting on it at all. We just lost a few inches of length, and everything else is wonderful. And because it got run over while it was on the grass, I now keep it in this handy dandy 100-gallon pot. And so it looks a little weird, but it's a nice protective area for it. So let's look at the other hose. So here's our other hose that we found with our research. And this one is actually made by the company Eley, E-L-E-Y. And I have like no complaints about it either. It's lightweight. The Briggs & Stratton, I like that one too, but that's a heavier weight hose. This one is made out of polyurethane. Briggs & Stratton is rubber, and this is just great. I mean, it doesn't kink. It's more expensive hose, but you can order it in just about any length. And of course, it has that very important feature of having brass fittings. Brass fittings is, as I said, not something I ever paid attention to, but if you don't pay attention to it, it can really be a sad thing down the road. It was really hard to get those, the hose, the previous hose, the Costco hose, off of the spigot. Took a lot of effort. So if you just order quality to begin with, something with brass fittings, it really helps. So here's our dramatic conclusion. These inexpensive hoses are not value hoses. If you happen to use your hose very lightly, perhaps washing a car once a week or just watering a few plants, then you could probably buy the cheaper hoses and be happy for a while. But here at the farm, they just do not earn their keep. So we have found that actually the best value hoses are the most expensive hoses. So I have been very happy. We've had one of these in use for a while, been happy with that, and also been happy with the Eley, the Briggs & Stratton and the Eley. So just something to consider, because if you are always replacing your hoses, it might actually not be the cheapest way to go. And for me, it's worth this, like being more sane, because when you are using a hose that is showering all sorts of places, including you in the process, it's really not a fun experience. Maybe if it's a really hot day, you wouldn't mind, but in general, having a reliable hose that is not going to fuse with the spigot, make sure whatever you use has a brass fitting and doesn't kink, those are just great qualities. No matter what you have to water or whatever you use a hose for, these two hoses might work out very well for you.